Hello you lovely lot, my name is Max and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Off the back of a pretty successful video put out earlier this week in which I talked about the January transfer business conducted by Nottingham Forest, I thought we'd expand this in some match previews, a topic that a few people have suggested in previous videos. Today we're going to be talking about the match between Nottingham Forest and Leicester City in the FA Cup fourth round. We're going to be talking about the journey the two teams have gone on between the beginning of the season and now, and then we're going to be talking about the match itself, what to expect from both Steve Cooper's men and potentially a little bit from Brendan Rodgers' Foxes. Like I said, a couple of people have suggested me doing this in previous videos, and before I get into it, I just want to say a massive thank you for the support shown on the previous video I uploaded, the previous football video I uploaded, which was me talking about Nottingham Forest's January transfer business. That video has nearly 1,000 views in the first couple of days of upload, and it just means absolutely massive amount to me that so many people have shown some great support to it, and hopefully looking forward to making some more of those sorts of videos in the future. Before we get into it though, don't forget to hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel whilst you're down there. We recently passed 200 subscribers and we're well on the road to 250, which hopefully we can hit in the next couple of months. So if you want to join what is a burgeoning community of people on this channel, then I highly suggest dropping a like down below and subscribing whilst you're down there. Of course, this fixture in of itself is a little bit of a dramatic one, it being a sort of what I call a beta East Midlands derby between Leicester City and Nottingham Forest. Of course, Leicester City head into this as the current holders of the FA Cup, having beaten Chelsea last season at Wembley to lift their very first FA Cup trophy. Nottingham Forest come into this, of course, after claiming one of their biggest scalps in the last few years, knocking out Mikel Arteta's Arsenal last month in the third round of the FA Cup. So I'm going to start this video by talking a little bit about our opponents, Leicester City, talking about their squad and how they managed to get into the fourth round following their victory over Watford. Like I mentioned, they beat Watford in the third round of the FA Cup, picking up a 4-1 win against the Hornets. Goals from Maddison, Tielemans, Albrighton and Harvey Barnes securing the win for them. However, despite the scoreline, the game was anything but one-sided from the Foxes, only registering around 52% possession against their relegation-threatened opponents, and also only taking about 13 shots, the same as their opponents as well. For me, the man of the match on the day, having looked back at the highlights, was Yuri Tielemans. The Belgian international registered 4 tackles and took 3 shots during the game, including his penalty, which he of course converted from the spot. He also created a chance for his teammates. This was, of course, largely quite a young Leicester City team, a lot of youth academy products in that team, and a big part of this was because of the injury crisis currently going on at Leicester, COVID issues as well, and of course the looming Africa Cup of Nations at the time. Now, since this game, Leicester have actually only played 2 games since. They have picked up a draw against Brighton, and before that picked up a loss against Tottenham Hotspur. This lack of games is due to largely the coronavirus pandemic, but also due to a break in Premier League fixtures last weekend. So they come into this in pretty poor form in the league and having not played too much in recent weeks, which could help them with them being a bit more fit than the Nottingham Forest team, but also they may have a bit of rust playing in this system that's very highly demanding on their players, such as the way Brendan Rodgers wants his team to play. And of course, we know pretty well about their mixed form in the Premier League, and they're going to be missing some of their key players for this big clash against the Reds in the FA Cup due to injuries and international requirements. Of course, Wesley Fofana and Johnny Evans are still out at centre-back, both not expected to return before the game kicks off. Ricardo Pereira is also out, and so is their main man Jamie Vardy, who's currently out with a hamstring injury. Those 4 injuries to arguably their most important players in those specific positions in the first team are also compounded by Kelechi Iheanacho and Wilfred Ndidi being away with the Africa Cup of Nations. Whilst Nigeria have been knocked out by Tunisia at the time of recording, it's not known yet whether they're going to be fully back into first team plans, and with it only being the FA Cup and maybe the priority for Leicester being getting European football this season, they may choose to rest them as they come back into the first 11. So to summarise, Leicester's team is injury hit, it's COVID hit, and it's been hit bad by the Africa Cup of Nations. Despite this, they managed to get through the third round relatively unscathed, with some of their key performers turning up on the day, like Harvey Barnes and Yuri Tielemans. However, I do think these injuries could cause them issues, particularly if they progress past Nottingham Forest deeper down the tournament, as some of these injuries seem to be long-term, such as Ricardo Pereira and Wesley Fofana. Of course, you probably clicked on this video to listen to me talk about Nottingham Forest. So I'm going to get into that now, having spent a little bit of time briefing us on our opposition today. Nottingham Forest, of course, knocked out Arsenal in the third round of the FA Cup. Possibly one of the biggest upsets of the round, with us being in mid-table at the time, and Arsenal, of course, pushing for Champions League football this season. Of course, that late Lewis Grabban goal was what sealed the win against the Gunners, where Forest appeared to have actually been almost equals to Arsenal on the day. Whilst we only saw 33% of the ball, we were very effective with it at our feet, with Arsenal seeing 10 shots and us seeing 7, but the Gunners were yet to register a single shot on target during the entire 90 minutes, whilst we were able to get 3 on target, including our goal. A large reason for the success was our ability to mitigate the success of their wide players, Bukayo Saka and Gabriel Martinelli, who were the players on the day, particularly with our wing backs Jed Spence and Jack Colback, who did fantastic jobs respectively of marking their opposition wingers and dropping back into a back 5 when necessary, particularly when Arsenal were trying to build sustained attacking periods. And Jed Spence really exemplified this. He had a particularly impressive display on the day, completing 6 tackles and interceptions as well as 3 clearances, and it's really no wonder as to why Arsenal and their North London rivals Tottenham were so interested in him during the January window, trying to bring him in that right back position. He was also very important at the other end of the pitch, completing 6 dribbles and setting up a chance for one of his teammates. However, with the positive, as I've always said, does come the negative. This was an extremely strong team put out by Nottingham Forest on the day, and unfortunately injuries have taken their toll due to the fixture congestion on our squad, with 2 key players missing at the time of play. Joe Lolly and Alex Myton do remain sidelined with knee injuries respectively, and Richie Laryea of course has been on international duty with Canada, so will not be eligible for the game. Moreover, our 2 biggest injury concerns are regarding Lewis Grabban and Joe Worrell. The former is out for about 6 weeks with an ankle injury, and the latter out with a rib injury until about the end of the month. For me, this is going to prove to be a huge game for our recent January acquisitions, particularly Keenan Davis and Sam Surridge. We've been playing between a front 3 and front 2 system during the course of this season, and I wouldn't be surprised to see one of the 2 January arrivals feature over the course of the 90 minutes against Leicester. Jonathan Panzo, of course, may be called upon to play in defence. The former Dijon man arrived on an undisclosed fee on January deadline day alongside Sam Surridge and could be called into action pretty early into his Nottingham Forest career. I would suggest this is unlikely though. I would maybe expect to see Tobias Figueiredo slot in the back 3 alongside Cook and McKenna should they be playing as well, simply due to his greater experience in the system, and of course Panzo having only just arrived a couple of days ago on deadline day. So with our preview over, let's maybe talk about some of the more important points in the match and how I personally think the match between Leicester and Forest in the FA Cup is going to go. As I've mentioned earlier, the fullbacks in this system do appear to be the most important function within the squad, and this is particularly exemplified down the right hand side, with Forest taking 42% of their touches in the right half space or right wide area, with 25% of their shots also coming from this area. For comparison, on the opposite flank, Forest take just 38% of their touches and 15% of their shots, suggesting how important the link up of that right hand side with Brennan Johnson and Jed Spence is to Nottingham Forest. And this makes for even more interesting a comparison when you look at Leicester's squad. Injury ravaged though it may be, they particularly lack depth in the fullback position, with Ricardo Pereira out for long-term injuries and then relying heavily on academy players to play in the wide areas. As I'm sure you'll expect me to say, I imagine this is probably going to be the key route to success for Nottingham Forest, using those wide areas well, driving up the pitch, and in particular exploiting Jed Spence's pace, creativity and strength down the right hand side, his link up with Brennan Johnson and the solidarity offered on the opposite side. Speaking of which, I would expect to maybe see Jack Colback retain his place at left wing back. As good as Max Lowe has been for us this season, I do think that offer of extra defensive stability presented by the Ginger Perlo at left wing back does seem to just be a little bit more preferred by Steve Cooper, particularly in the big games. Of course, this is probably one of our biggest games so far this season. Okay, so let's flip things around then. Let's maybe talk about the more experienced players in the Leicester City squad and probably the game winners if they start for them. The man I really want to focus on is James Maddison, and he could prove to be the key to the lock of that Nottingham Forest defence for Leicester City. Since the end of November, the England international has picked up 5 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League and also netted in the Foxes' 4-1 win over Watford in the third round of the FA Cup, accumulating 0.5 expected goals and assists per 90 this season in the league. I would argue that his ability to find space between the defence and the midfield is going to be the most important factor for Leicester, particularly missing Jamie Vardy, whose ability to spring attacks so quickly is going to be sorely missed for the Foxes. Overall, I do think this is going to be a very tight game with key players missing for both sides, particularly up front. I would imagine see a defensive solid performance from both teams. In fairness, I don't think it's going to be a goal fest, but it's definitely going to be a very tight knife edge fixture for both sides. In terms of my prediction, I think I've got to go in my heart on this one. I do think it's going to go the distance. I think it's probably going to head into extra time. I think it's probably going to be a 2-1 win. And on the day, I'm going to suggest the winners and advancing through to the 5th round of the FA Cup are going to be my team, Nottingham Forest. No biases, of course. I just think the injuries currently in the Leicester squad, and probably I would suggest them going to be prioritising the league, getting into the European places by the end of this season. It's probably going to be their downfall. I'd expect to see some of their youth academy players get some meaningful minutes and hopefully really shine on a big stage against what is a very big team in Nottingham Forest. But let me know down in that comment section down below who is going to be advancing through to the 5th round of the FA Cup. Will it be the Foxes, Leicester City, or will it be the mighty Reds, Nottingham Forest? Answers always in the comment section below. And whilst you're down there, please don't forget to drop the like down below and subscribe to the channel whilst you're down there. It would be greatly appreciated. I cannot thank you enough for the great support shown on my January transfer review video. We're close to 1,000 views on it. We've gained like nearly 50 subscribers on the channel since that video took place. So again, I can't tell you how much it means to me to be seeing so much great support shown to that video, if I can get my words out. With that being said, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more of these videos in the future, let me know what you want to see in the comments down below as well, and I will try and deliver those in the future. With that being said, thanks for watching. I will catch you later.